Yesterday morning, we looked at what Bernard of Clairvaux calls the first stage or degree of love, the love of self for self's sake, our most natural tendency, I think. You know, there's a familiar go-to verse found in Psalm 37. It's verse 4. It says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and the Lord will give you the desires of your heart." I've recited this verse more than once as a kind of promise. You know, if I'll just do this, blessings will be mine. You know what I mean? I think it's a poor reading of the verse that leads us to thinking poorly of God. Such an approach to think of God as one who exists only to give us what we want or what we think we may want or what may be best for us at any given time. Can you see what I mean by a poor reading of this verse? It seems very much like, to me, what Bernard must have considered this first degree of love, loving self for self's sake. It's selfish kind of love, self-centered love. Well, I'm convinced that reading Psalm 37:4 like that will lead us to believe that the desires of our heart are dictated or are directed by us. In other words, that I know what's best for me. And we may convince ourselves that this is true, that I do know what's best for me. I know exactly what I need at any point along life's journey. Well, I'll admit there's been more than once in my life that I've been wrong about that. I thought I knew what was best, but I was mistaken. God knew best, not me. The second degree of love is loving God for your own sake or your own blessing. It's what we often think of as being dependent upon God. And that in itself is a really good thing. We are dependent upon God. But it's worth deeper examination, I think. People who are carnal, as Paul would say, or selfish by instinct, who don't know how to do anything but love themselves, they can begin to love God, but still love God for their own benefit or their own blessing. The second degree of love means that we now love God, yet we still do so for our own sake, for self's sake. It's wisdom that enables us to know what we can do by ourselves and what we can only do by God's help. That's wisdom. For example, when we sin and our sins gain in frequency, when we turn to God then for His unfailing love, we rightfully respond with the psalmist, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good." That's Psalm 118:1. That's not a confession of us being good to the Lord, but the realization that the Lord has been good to us. It's the love of God for our benefit. The person who is at the second degree of love will give thanks to God when God has shown him or her kindness. God's been good to me. I love God. But you see, it's still for their own sake. As we will see tomorrow when we look at the third degree, you become more experienced or you will love God at a deeper level when we pursue Christ's likeness. So until tomorrow, stay safe, stay well, stay connected to God and to one another. Blessings.